Hey guys, welcome back to Home Built, and this week we are continuing the turbo installation on the Frankenhauler. All right, before we get into it today, I just want to quickly thank this week's sponsor, which is Bluetti, with their AC180T and this awesome piece of gear. So basically, the AC180T is a portable power station that's got two AC outlets for powering whatever tools and stuff you have, along with a couple of USB-A and a couple of USB-C outputs. And it has sort of 1.8 kilowatts of capacity, but that's not the coolest part. The coolest part of this unit is that it actually has removable battery units in it. So there's two separate removable batteries in it, and one of them fits into this bad boy. And this is, it looks like an esky because it sort of is. It's a fridge and freezer with an ice maker, all powered by battery. It's awesome. So I've been playing around with this and opening up a bit, so it's actually not down at its full temperature. But you can see here it's got 83% battery, and it'll still go for another 53.9 hours with this one battery that's in here. And I'm currently in ice making mode. And this is awesome. Look at this. This has got an ice maker that's running along in it. It's already made a whole bunch of ice in here. So it's also got this double fridge side, so there's a whole heap of capacity in there. So this is already my new shop fridge, and I am loving it. It can run on 4 different power sources. So you can either run it from the battery down in the bottom here. You can run it on your normal AC mains power. You can also plug it into a cigarette lighter, and you can also run it off of solar. So there's a bunch of different options here to keep this thing going. I think it's fantastic for camping or whatever. As I said, this is my new shop fridge. This is going to get a fair bit of use, and I am stoked.
You can also control the fridge and the AC180T from the Bluetti app.
So Bluetti are currently having some massive Black Friday sales, and if you use my code, link is in the description, you can get an extra 5% off of the already massive discounts, like the 50% off on some of this stuff. It's only going till December 3rd, so you better get in fast. I am loving it, and I'm definitely going to get a lot of use out of the shop fridge. And the portable power station is just going to keep me running in the shed. Rain, hail, shine, blackout, whatever, it's going to do the job. Let's get back into it. All right, guys, welcome back. And those who've been following will know that this is the Frankenhauler. This is my 1954 Ford F600 truck cab that I've mounted onto a Toyota Coaster bus chassis. If you missed the last episode where I started the turbo conversion, I'll put a link up above so you can catch up. And like always, do the things like subscribe, comment. It all helps out that crazy algorithm. So, as you can see, actually, the Ferrari is here in the background, and those who want an update on that, I actually finally had the engineering for it. I have done my blue slip, which is for New South Wales people will know what that is. I'm just doing the final bits to get club registration for that car, and it should have plates on it in about a week. Yes! So more coming on that, but back to the Frankenhauler. So last week, we had a bunch of comments about the turbo conversion. First one was, lots of people are really concerned with this intercooler. Yes, it's probably a little bit overkill for this job. It's not really that big of a problem. People were worried about the length of the inlet pipes. Many, many years ago, I had turbo Skylines, and we had a very similar arrangement with the intercooler piping, and we actually looked at the difference it made between direct and the longer piping. And it made very little difference. And this is a diesel truck. I am not concerned in the slightest about that length. Okay, yes, it's longer than potentially it needs to be, but I think it's fine. I'm not concerned at all. A couple of good suggestions were about the breather, and I've actually got an oil air separator on its way. I'm not a huge fan of just sort of catch cans, but this is a sort of a recirculating system where the air goes in, separates it out, goes back into the before the turbo, and that can return the oil back to the sump. But moving forward, I've just had a nice big order that has come in from Racework, so now we need to start looking at mounting that intercooler and then plumbing it all up so that the inlet and outlet and everything all joins up.
So I start with a piece of small angle iron and mark and drill out a couple of holes so I can mount to the top of the intercooler. And now I've taken a couple of small pieces of flat bar stock that I've put a hole in the center of to weld to either end of the angle, and this is my mounting points to mount to the truck itself. Then to get my heights correct, I line up one side first where I'm happy and then level and measure everything before drilling the other side. And it's just a matter of bolting it in and I have my intercooler mount. And next I need to make some clearance for the 90-degree silicon bends to go onto the end of the intercooler.
Alright, so I've got a piece of angle iron and I've tied it to these pillars. So this is actually part of the inner wing on either side. So I've managed to bolt that through all the way through either side and made a nice mount to hold the intercooler up. So that is good. And on the front, I've gone through and I've given myself some clearance so that now I can actually get my flex pipes onto the front of the intercooler nicely. Again, this can be tidied up later, but for the time being, we just need to plumb this all in. So let's get out some aluminium tubing, some flex pipes, and see what we can do about connecting that to that.
So you can see here I use my cable tie trick to mark a nice square line all the way around the tube, and then I start trimming and mocking things up. Taking my time because it's definitely easier cutting stuff off than adding it back on again. So at first I tried it just using silicone joiners, but it's really difficult to get the perfect angle with that, and I much prefer to cut and slice together some aluminium tube to get everything fitting exactly where I want it.
All right, so I've got first few sections of my crossover pipe. I've sort of started taping them all together, so I'm going to clean them up now, and at least to start with, just going to tack them together until I've got the whole thing exactly the way I want it. So let's get some tacks on this stuff.
So I've used 3 sections of tape around each joint to hold the tubes together. Then in between I clean it up with some Scotch-Brite and acetone before tacking it. So now that first section is done, I am trimming the next section to make sure that I get everything lined up exactly the way I want it. And then once I'm happy, I tack the rest of it together and check the entire length. And once I have the whole tube mocked up and it all fits in place, I start trying to weld this together. And welding thin aluminium tube is a very difficult task. Welding aluminium is very, very different to welding steel. And let's just say this first go was pretty atrocious, and I just wasn't happy with it. So I got out the grinder, ground it all off, cleaned it all up again, and let's have another go at it. Very gradually, as each weld goes on, I start getting the hang of it a bit more, but this first tube, the welds are really not that crash hot. And once that's done, I get out the Raceworks bead roller and put a bead into each end of the pipe. This is so that when you've hose clamped onto the silicone joiner, it gives it something to stop it just blowing off. Alright, and I'm really happy with that. That has got nice clearance the whole way around, and you can see it's a very nice transition, nice and straight joins on the silicone, so it should do the job very nicely. So the pipe from the turbo to the intercooler, it has to transition from 2-inch to 2.5-inch. So what I've got here is I've got an aluminium cone from Raceworks that I am trimming into shape. And actually you can see here I do linish every pipe. I didn't film it all because it's hard to transfer the camera every time, but all the pipes are done so you get a nice square join. And now I start tacking again, and with a bit more practice, the welding is getting better and better each time. And I forgot to turn the mic on, but you can sort of see here that the welds are better, but they're still not amazing. But they've stuck the pipe together, and that's the main thing for this job. And there you go, it fits very nicely, and we have some very neat intercooler piping with nice square joins under the silicon. That is that part, I think, done.
Alright, that is looking really good. We have the intercooler pipes in, and one thing that I didn't finish last week was when I modified this crossover, the original one actually had a little mounting on the bottom, and I cut it off, and that actually went down here and bolted onto the side of the rocker cover to support this, because obviously with the vibration of the diesel engine this could actually be damaging. So I'm going to tidy this up and weld this on probably somewhere around there, so we can then bolt the crossover pipe on and secure it. So let's do that.
So this now is relatively easy. I use my third hand to hold the little boss on, and then I just need to make a little strap to join from the crossover pipe for a support.
So next thing I want to do is I want to go down to my turbo, and I need to start making a dump pipe.
So to design up the mount, I took a photo of the gasket, trying to make sure it was nice and square and straight, and using some measurements to make sure my dimensions are correct, I drew my design over the top of that image. Once I extruded it and got rid of the background image, you can see that I have the finished piece. Transfer that over and started to cut out a test piece on the plasma table, just out of some thin sheet. And it's a good thing I did, because it did not line up straight away, so I made some adjustments and then cut it out again, and this time it was what I wanted. So now I was happy with it. I cut out the piece out of 10mm steel plate, and this plasma table is absolutely fantastic. And this time I made sure I left it to sit there and cool down naturally. So while I'm waiting for everything to cool down, I keep myself busy by going over and making the Dash 4 oil feed line to feed oil to the turbo. So now it's cooled down, I can grind off the slag off of the dump pipe flange and start drilling it out. And surprise, surprise, this time it drilled nice and smoothly, no burnt drill bits, super easy. And then double check that it fits and bolts onto where it needs to.
All right, last week I did mention that I had the adapter plate I made for the turbo, and it was burning out drill bits. Some of that was because I hardened it with the quenching it when I took it off of the machine, and the other part was that the plasma actually hardens the edge and puts this really hard crust on it. Matt from UrchFab did contact me and mentioned that yes, if you just pierce smaller holes, it's better, and there were a couple of comments saying the same thing. So I did like little 5 more holes this time, drilled straight through it after letting it cool down naturally, and I had no dramas at all. So it drilled out, and this fits nicely. So now what I'm going to do is I've gone through my scrap bin, and I've got a bit of a bend here that will fit into this piece nicely, and now I just need to sort of fill out the rest and join it up and sort of bash things together to make myself the dump pipe.
So I start by trimming a notch into the side of my 90-degree bend and just start trying to bash it into shape. Unfortunately, with stainless steel, it is very, very tough and very hard to bend and work with in general. Much harder than mild steel. You You can see here I got a second piece, and again start sort of bashing and shaping it and trying to make it fit nicely into the dump pipe flange that I cut out. Essentially what I'm trying to do is get a relatively straight exit from the turbine wheel of the exhaust, and the extra sort of piece on the side is for where the wastegate opens up, and that also will feed into the same 2.5 inch exhaust pipe. So I gradually trim each piece so that they nest together nicely, and then I can start tacking them together. And then it's a matter of beating it with a hammer, tack it, beat it with a hammer, tack it until I get a nice neat join.
All right, that was a lot of beating and bashing bits and pieces around to make a dump pipe, but it's actually turned out quite well. So I designed up my face piece and cut that out on the plasma table as you saw, and then I just used a piece of 90 and another piece of scrap that I had lying around, cut it open and sort of grafted them together, just sort of bashing them as I went, and yeah, it's not pretty, but that will do the job. I mean, I could have bought a dump pipe, but it took me an hour or so, and I have a quite usable piece, but that is where I'm going to have to leave it this week because I am out of time. I have spent a lot of time this week going around with the Ferrari, and I actually should have registration in about a week. I've done the final hurdles of paperwork. It's just waiting for a couple of stamps. But the difficult parts are all done. The engineering's done. My blue slip is done, for those who know the New South Wales process. It's just some club paperwork, and the Ferrari will be on the road. So anyway, that is it for this week. I think that means it's time for Fun Facts with Mrs. Jeff.
Hey guys, in 1932, alongside the Ford Model B cars was the Ford Model BB trucks. These were a continuation from the Model AA and the Model TT before it. The Model BB came with a longer wheelbase, heavier duty transmissions and axles, reinforced frame, and bigger wheels than the Model B on which it was based. Wire wheels were standard on light duty vehicles, while the heavier ones got the steel wheels. The BB was available with either Ford's 3.3 litre 4-cylinder or the 3.6 litre flathead V8. The Model BB trucks were only available as a chassis in cab or a chassis in engine with a naked rear, in order to allow independent coach builders to modify them to suit their customers' needs.
All right, I am very happy with the progress on the Frankenhauler. We've got the intercooler piping all done, and the Ferrari should have plates within the week. I'm so excited actually to be able to use it. There's still teething problems, yeah, but...
How long has it taken, the Ferrari? Like how many years?
This is about 5 years now since I started. I mean, I sort of mostly finished it in 4, and
then the last little finishing engineering and so on, yeah.
It's been almost 12
been a
months.
while.
That's just
5
what
years
it takes for the...
work.
Yeah. But it will be... And it's still a ongoing project, like all project cars are. They just a continual project, and then you sell them. They're never finished, but we'll we'll keep working.
I thought you were going to keep all of them.
I am.
Okay.
So that's why they're going to be a continual project forever.
Oh my gosh. Like, subscribe, let us know what you think. And thank you for all those helpful comments about the pronunciation of juice and juice, which we say in Australia, we say juice. And in America, we say deuce.
Yes, we don't say deuce.
We say juice. I think it's the British model. But
yeah.
Anyway, always fun to hear. And yeah, like, subscribe. Patreon, help them out.
Yeah.
See the videos day early, no ads. Yay.
See you next time.
See you guys.
See ya.
The longer wheelbase, heavier duty transmissions, bigger wheels, 2 other things I can't remember, then the Model B on which it was based. The Model BB came with a The Model BB came with a reinforced wheel frame. No. The Model BB came with a longer wheelbase, a reinforced frame, heavier duty transmissions and axles, bigger wheels than the Model B on which it was based. I think we're going to keep that. Heavier duty transmissions and axles, reinforced reinforced frame, and bigger wheels than the Model B on which it was based.
Okay.
No, it was good. It's
No,
good
it was
enough.
not good enough.